All right, YouTubeverse. This is Lord McLeod coming at you. So what I'm doing today is there's a special guest that I have, somebody that's very dear to my heart, somebody that I've known for a number of years. He's actually running for Congress here in San Diego, in the 53rd district, I believe. But his name is Jose Caballero III, and we're gonna discuss a few things and find out what his opinion is on a few things. So, Jose,
Hey,
how are you, brother?
good to see you.
Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
So there's a number of different issues that are going on in the world right now, but the main thing I want to start with is, who is Jose Caballero, and why should people pay attention to your platform?
Well, I like to say I'm an unapologetic progressive veteran for peace. And what that
I like
means,
that.
what that means is that I'm standing for a lot of progressive issues and a lot of progressive politics. So a lot of what is progressivism? I'm sure you've heard that word thrown out a lot. You know, you have different establishment characters that are saying, "Oh, I'm progressive," and then this person, Joe Biden, saying he's progressive, and Amy Klobuchar is calling herself progressive. So what is actual progressivism? Well, the brand of progressivism that I use is really the Bernie Sanders model of politics. So you're talking about Medicare for all, Green New Deal, education for all, student loan debt forgiveness, ending the wars, immigration reform, gun violence reform. There is so much in that platform, criminal justice reform. And what makes me unique as a candidate that I am a veteran as well.
Nice.
So what that means for me and what that means for our policies is the Hero's Promise. The Hero's Promise is a military veteran bill of rights that I've authored that protects active duty members while they're in and gives them a safe transition when they get out.
How does that happen?
So right now, as it is, you get out of the military. If you do 20 years, you can retire and you get money for that. But if you just get out of the military after, let's say, a 4 years term, or maybe you do a reenlistment, you're done. You get out and you don't get paid anymore. You may have some, you'll have some educational benefits that run out. You can have maybe some health care if you got hurt while you're in. But at the end of the day, it's not adequate. That's why we have 20 veterans a day killing themselves. So this is a big problem. So, I'll run through the points really quickly here as promised. One is meal and sleep protection, ability to file a grievance outside a chain of command, the right to mental health services, and an end-of-service pension that actually allows veterans, when they leave the military, to have equal time served up to 6 years plus 2 for combat vets. So,
oh wow! So they would end up receiving the same.
So they're going to receive base pay for, let's say you do 4 years. Let's say you do 4 years,
Okay.
and you get out. You'll get 4 years of pay at the base pay that you were getting paid when you got into the military.
Wow, that would make a huge difference.
Yes.
For a lot of veterans.
Yes, absolutely. It would, because economic distress is one of the leading causes of people killing themselves outside, with the obviously the irritation of PTSD as well, because pretty much every veteran's coming out with some form of PTSD. It's baked into the system.
Absolutely.
So when you're out, you'll receive benefits such as education, housing, healthcare. If you're not a citizen, you'll receive it. And
nice.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's been close to 1,000 or more veterans that were in the military that have been deported.
They got deported when they got out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is a problem, and a lot of people are like, well, what if they committed a crime? Well, they serve their country. They have the right to serve prison time in America. So that it's like one of those things. It's like, if they're a criminal after they get out and they do some form of damage, and put them in American prison. There's no reason to go and ship that person to another country where they
not when they fought for our country and our freedom.
Exactly.
So it sounds like the Hero's Promise would affect people, not millions of people, not just here in America, but across the world.
Well, I mean, in a sense, it would help people across the world in a very, I guess, it's an unintended consequence of the Hero's Promise, which is going to be drawdown of our military forces. So there's a lot of people in the military right now that are in the military because they have health care for their families. They have a stable job and they don't know if the economy is going to accept them for a new job.
Right.
So a lot of these military members are actually stuck in the military because of the financial stuff. So if we give people a safe journey home out, so they get a pension and things of that nature, they can get out of the military if they hate it,
Right.
and that will naturally draw down our forces. Well, what does that do around the world? It means that we don't have the manning to blow people up anymore.
Not just that, but isn't there, I mean, we have hundreds of bases that are in other countries, thousands of bases, where we still have people, even where there aren't any wars, even where there's not any kind of fighting going on.
Absolutely.
And that's something that, definitely would be affected by.
Absolutely, because we need to start drawing down our forces. We need to start bringing troops home, and this will allow that to happen in a very safe and just way.
Okay, wow. And what? Just to detract from the hero's promise for a moment. And speaking of the veterans and the suicide rate among veterans. There's also a number of veterans, specifically here in San Diego, especially, that are homeless.
That's right.
And it sounds like there's a lot of things that this Hero's Promise could do to not just affect people in service, but out of service. There's a lot of things that people go through in their life, that cause different people to become homeless.
Yeah.
So if you do become elected, how will you try to impact the homeless veterans that are here in San Diego in the interim until
we have
the Hero's Promise?
Yeah.
And we have housing for all.
Yeah. So getting elected to Congress, you're getting elected to a body of 435 people, right? So you're one voice in a large mass of people. However, across this country, I have people who have co-signed on to the Hero's Promise that are actually running for Congress right now.
Really?
So we already have momentum going in the door about what we're actually trying to accomplish here for the veterans.
Nice.
So I like that you brought up the fact of the homeless people that are veteran here in San Diego County alone. 1 in 4 people who are homeless are a veteran, right? And that is unsat. That's just not allowed. That shouldn't be allowed.
No, it shouldn't.
And anybody shouldn't be on the street, actually, personally.
I agree, but especially if you fought for this country and risked your life.
Absolutely. And what the Hero's Promise has is a housing for all veterans. So basically, the VA administration would basically create housing that is run by the VA that allows no questions asked. If you're a veteran, come in. Right,
nice.
And you can live. They'll have different types of styles. So there would be like birthing styles, like barracks. So there would be dorm room styles, like they may be used to, right? Or will they have single bedroom, right? So so we have the resources to do it. We just need to put the people there, and that's where we really need to focus on. And as far as the grand scheme of it all, I do support housing for all. It's a policy put on by Bernie Sanders. And what that is, it's a $1.48 trillion over 10 years that is given to basically all the areas across the country that have housing crises. So San Diego, LA, San Francisco, New York City, it's
all across the country.
It's all across the country. So that would be used for that, but there will also be about $500 billion spent on dealing with the homeless situation now, right? And so that means temporary housing. That means making sure that we get people who need medical assistance now, right? These are the type of things that money will be used for, and that's very, very critical as well. And absolutely. There's a lot of popularity for this type of stuff because 50% of this country lives in some area that is dealing with some form of housing, homelessness. any type of those type of issues. So 50% of the country is already on board.
Well, we're already in poverty.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole
And,
problem.
and as far as the rural areas where there's homeless in the rural areas, it's really simple. We give them housing vouchers so they can actually put a roof over their head, so they can actually start their lives, you know. And you know, we can solve chronic homelessness. It's just, there just needs to be a will. And that's why I'm running for Congress, is to make sure that we push that money into the right places in Congress.
Nice. I like that. Well, it sounds like you've, excuse me. It sounds like you've really got a plan for the direction you want to go in. Once you do get elected, because your platform seems to be a hell of a lot better than all your opponents.
Well, I'd like to think so.
Now, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
you want to talk a little bit about some current events?
Sure. Let's go for it.
So the Wuhan coronavirus, there have been confirmed over 1,100 deaths and over 45,000 cases. Now, just yesterday, there was just over 900 cases of deaths. So there's been about 200 deaths in the last 24 hours from this virus. And Santa Clara County, up where San Jose is, they have 2 confirmed cases, a man and a woman. How do you think we should maybe go about preventing it from coming here to San Diego?
Well, it's already happened in LA. It's only a matter of time before it comes to San Diego. So a lot of people, you know, pandemics are going to be more and more prevalent. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, that climate change is actually one of the biggest contributors to actually having these viruses spread so easily.
Really?
A lot of people don't understand that when you have an arid environment with less water, that means that disease actually can propagate faster, because if you have lack of water, that's lack of sanitation. There is the ability for communicative diseases to travel in the air, because if there's not enough moisture in the air to pull it down, then that just goes right through the air, dry, into different things. So on its face, we as a world, as a global community, and I would love to see America really take a leading role in this, we need to start putting resources aside to start preventing the next pandemic, right? And hopefully the coronavirus isn't that next pandemic. Now, we also have to put it into perspective, and this is the scary stuff, is that the flu, it's flu season right now. Hundreds of people in San Diego, or I think not maybe 100, but a little less than 100 people in San Diego have already died from the flu. Right.
Wow.
So this could be just a very exaggerated form of flu that could actually, you know, cause more deaths. It's just going to either double the amount of flu deaths that we have, or it mutates into something very dangerous, and then we're all screwed. I think it's important for the communities and Americans to know, like, wash your hands. You know, if you're going into a hospital, wear a face mask. If you're going into a medical clinic, wear a face mask. You know, protect yourself. It's very, very important. And luckily, you know, living in a first world country, we have the luxury of having, or in a developed nation, we have the luxury of sanitation. Like, for example, you know this information. A lot of people know this information. People know that there's some pandemic going on right now. And that's important, because it allows people to keep focused. Like, if this cough may not just be a cough, I need to maybe go to the doctor, right? Which is good. So anybody watching, like, make sure you go to the doctor, get your checkup. I know it sucks and it's expensive. That's why I'm for Medicare for all, because we could actually solve a lot of these problems, and you wouldn't have to be worried about going to the doctor and paying a $50 or $25 copay on top of whatever medicine they're going to prescribe you. Yeah. So I know it's just an untenable situation that most Americans are going through. So if you really want to look at where the danger is, it's our people in poverty, like people who have coughs, sneezes, you know, thinking it's just a common cold that they can just work out, and then all of a sudden they have coronavirus. They contact so many people within their community, and then they did have coronavirus, and then all of a sudden now there's more exposure. Yeah, exactly. So if we had Medicare for all, people come in with a cough and a sneeze, like, okay, I'm going to the doctor. right?
Absolutely.
And then that way
we wouldn't
can
hesitate. Because
exactly
we couldn't afford it, or we couldn't afford the medicine.
exactly. That means less exposure with children and the elderly. Because that's just how it is. If you don't treat your sickness, you spread it.
Absolutely.
And it's not people's fault that they can't treat their sickness. It's just that the way America deals medicine it's broken. It's flawed.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So I think it's important to keep an eye on it. I always caution panic because the media loves it. I mean, swine flu, Ebola,
SARS.
different SARS. Like, we've been through this narrative before.
Well, the thing is, though, bringing up SARS, SARS only had about 8,000 reported cases, but had almost 800 deaths. And we've long surpassed SARS, and that was in 2003. Now, like I stated, we're at over 1,100 confirmed deaths and over 45,000 cases across the world. One thing I've noticed through the maps that they've been showing is that there's no countries in Africa that it's been reported. There's no countries in South America or Mexico that it's been reported. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of these people in these countries aren't traveling throughout the world right now, or they're not traveling to these areas where all these cases.
I have to say I disagree. I think that the way these things move. Again, we're talking about the person with coronavirus has to go to the right hospital, the right doctor that knows how to diagnose it. So there are countries where there's rural hospitals in different places that people may very well have the coronavirus in Argentina, but there hasn't been a doctor that happened to stumble across it yet. Right.
That's
so
That's true.
So it's not the fact that people in other nations aren't traveling. It's just that people who've gotten exposed to coronavirus are going back home, not knowing they have it. Somebody gets sick, cough, cough, cough. Doctor goes, oh, you have the flu, treats the flu, and then they send them home. So it could take weeks sometimes before a medical professional finds that it's there.
Well, what's your opinion on this? The possibility that this coronavirus was created.
I don't like conspiracy theories. I think that they are intellectually dishonest, and usually what happens is people come to a conclusion of, oh, this has to be created, so then they go and search for the evidence that it is. So there's a lot of confirmation bias when it comes to conspiracies.
That's true.
So for me,
but is it possible that it could have been?
Anything's possible, but we have to be careful. Like
absolutely,
like anything is possible. But the thing is, like we kind of already know where this one came from. It came from probably a bat or some type of meat that was contaminated with something. Because there are rural areas of China that eat, bats and rodents that maybe aren't really meant for human consumption.
Hey, there's groups of civilizations that live off of dragonflies and beetles.
Yeah, true. But we have to realize that this could have very well been gestated in meat products.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just stating that there's a lot of rural and very poor areas throughout the world where people are forced to eat things that people wouldn't normally want to eat.
Well, I mean, yes and no. A lot of that is cultural, but at the end of the day, like most people are eating the standard products that we all normally understand. Like the stuff that culturally. So like. People in China are still eating rice, they're eating beans, they're eating all those things, but now that you have the introduction of people wanting more meat in those areas, now people are doing anything they can to get it. So there's also a lot of counterfeit meats as well.
That's true.
So it's like, oh,
what exactly is counterfeit meat?
So what I mean, like you're saying, okay, I'm gonna buy this piece of beef, but it's actually a cat. Or it's actually a dog. Right.
Okay.
So there's a lot of that too. And if you're super poor and you just want meat, how are you going to know if that's a rabbit or if that's a sheep?
That's one reason why I don't eat Chinese food anymore because
don't you don't have to take it to a racial place.
No. I actually know somebody who catches pigeons and sells these pigeons to Chinese food restaurants that instead of having chicken.
Yeah, and
I'm not saying all Chinese food. I'm saying the Chinese places that my person that I know sells these to, and I'm sure he's not the only one.
So there's also that too. But as I don't eat any type of meat. As a 4-year vegan and proud, I don't eat any type of meat, so I don't have to worry about really getting tainted meat parasites in my body. So that's one benefit. So that I have.
You got to worry about tainted romaine lettuce
from the E. coli coming from the animals. Okay, so
it's all one
cycle. When they say, "Oh my gosh, spinach is contaminated with E. coli," it's because they used some tainted fertilizer that came from an animal farm. So that's how that works.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So get your shit off of my food.
I like that. And I guess the last thing I really want to get your opinion on is Trump's sham acquittal. Just because you're acquitted doesn't make you innocent. But my question to you is, how do we fix this? And how do we prevent another POTUS from doing what this man has done in the midst of destroying the democracy, destroying the Constitution, basically violating every law of the Constitution? How can we hold POTUS accountable when now we know that POTUS can block all subpoenas, can block witnesses from testifying, can basically bully witnesses and tamper with witnesses while they're testifying, mm-hmm. and intimidate them? How can we prevent another POTUS from doing this?
Unfortunately, the short, sad answer is we can't. So right now in the Constitution, the way that it is written, the President of the United States can only be removed from office by impeachment. Mm-hmm. And we've went through this whole process, and we saw how much of a sham it was, and that the Republicans were loyal and decided to stick by their guy. Now, this is the scary stuff. So in the Constitution, it says that we're supposed to have an election every 4 years. Mm-hmm. It doesn't say in the Constitution that the president that's currently there has to step down. It's up to the president to have and set up the inauguration. The peaceful transfer of power is what America was all about. Mm-hmm. It goes back to the folklore of George Washington only serving 2 terms and stepping down and relinquishing his control. Mm-hmm. I mean, George Washington could have easily been a king of this country.
Absolutely. Because he didn't want it.
No, he didn't. And that's why there's so much mythology around George Washington. Now, Donald Trump is no George Washington. So what does that mean? Well, that means technically that because there is no checks and balances anymore, because you were saying, how do we hold the president accountable? Our Congress or legislature is supposed to hold our president accountable, and they've already failed. And the only way we're going to be able to solve this is if you're watching this and you're a voter, get everybody around you to vote too. I like to say I'm a cynical optimist. I know it's almost like
an oxymoron.
It kind of is, right? But this is my philosophy behind it. I believe in my heart of hearts that the system can work and benefit the people of the United States. I do believe that.
If the right people are in power.
Well, I mean, it's written in the right words, yes. And that's where my cynicism comes in. But I do believe that if the system is firing off correctly, with compassion and with integrity, we can solve any world problem. We can go to space. We can solve climate change. We can give housing to everyone. We can give healthcare to everyone. Because humanity is amazing like that.
It is.
We have rockets, we have planes, we have trains, we have massive transit of people. We feed 7.5 billion people a day. Like this is something that is to be marveled.
Absolutely.
But we have now reached a point where the system is so mangled and so broken that are we going to be able to make sure that all the systems that are in place in that system are going to fire off? So the only way the system can fix things is if the system is running at 100% capacity. So the only way, like you touched on it, you said that we can elect the right people and then the right people will come into place. The issue, again, is that most people don't know who to pick. So let's use my campaign as an example. So you have a billionaires, you have the establishment pick, and you have 14 or 13 other people that are running for this seat, right?
For one seat.
For one seat for Congress.
All because Susan Davis decided
That's right. That's right. So what does that mean? So that means the billionaires is dumping tons of money. There's pretty much no room on the airwaves for anybody else because she's taken pretty much all the space.
Wow.
You have Georgette Gomez, who was anointed by the Democratic Party by her friends, not because of her policy. So she's getting all of the establishment money, all the establishment endorsements that basically give her an upper hand. Then you have this diaspora of different candidates from all different types of backgrounds, which diaspora is when it's just spread out, flooded, right? So you have all these other candidates, and you have a candidate that is pretty much trying to be exactly like me, to be kind of like a clone.
Okay.
So that divides the vote amongst myself. You have Georgette Gomez using her rhetoric, saying that she's progressive, even though she is not. And
well, she's the one that's with the not with the coalition, but she's the one that's. You used the word earlier.
What?
With the establishment.
Yes, she's with the establishment. So you have 3 self-identified progressives that are vying for this seat. So that splits up that vote. You have 3 Republicans that are running for this seat. So that's going to split as well. And then you have 10 other people, or I guess 9 other people that are just randomly on the ballot that will pull votes. Like everybody's going to get votes, right?
Absolutely.
So what we've done is we've pretty much allowed it to be for the oligarch, the richest person in the race that has the ability to go to the many doors, get the literature out, and make the most phone calls. The issue is there's no room for people like us, and most of your viewers probably don't even know who I am. Why? Because it's not, because it is a system where they block people out like myself. Obviously I'm here, I'm on YouTube, I go and speak to people.
You've been on the Young Turks.
Yeah, I've been on the Young Turks. I've got the Democratic Socialists of America endorsement. I have Our Revolution. So I have a lot of support throughout the community. The question is, mathematically, am I going to make it? I don't know. It's a statistical tie amongst everybody else except for Sarah Jacobs. So it's anybody's game right now. And so what we have to do is we have to be more informed. We have to figure out what values are we looking for in a candidate, not what candidate you're looking for. So, for example, if you care about Medicare for all, you care about veterans issues, you care about, education for all, the cancellation of student loan debt, like I'm your candidate. Right. That's just how that works. So we need to seek out candidates to support the values and issues that we support, rather than the candidate trying to find you. Right. And it's going to be a complete mind shift change. Now, are we going to be able to do it before the world ends? I don't know.
Probably not.
And that's where my cynical optimism is like, I will continue the fight, even though no matter how bleak it looks, to make sure that we have a chance to save the world. And that's what it's about. It's not about saving the world anymore. It's about a chance to save the world. Because that's where we're at.
We don't even know if we've gone too far.
Exactly. Right? And we are fighting like hell as real people to make sure that we can at least toss the coin. Right? And hope that it lands on survival.
It's a good parable.
Yeah. And you know what? We may not be able to flip that coin. But I will tell you right now that I'm going to fight for flipping that coin. And at least my son will have a chance to survive. That's all I am fighting for, is the chance for my son to survive, because it is a chance now.
Yeah.
We have passed the point of guaranteed survival.
Oh yeah, we passed that point long ago.
Yes. So that's where we're at, and it's up to you. I know how silly and childish that sounds, but it's up to you. Because if we don't stand together and vote and vote with our conscience and actually know who we're voting for, instead of just following some piece of mail or some commercial on TV that you saw, what that means is they have money. Where does that money come from? It doesn't come from people like us. It comes from people that have so much money that they can just throw it at people. My average donation right now is $3.50. Why? Because people that support our campaign don't have a lot of money. That's why we relate with so many people. So if everybody that didn't have a lot of money voted for me, I'd win in a landslide.
Well, why don't you tell the people where they can get in contact with you, where they can supply with donations?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't you let the people know?
Yeah, so you can go to joseforcongress.us. That's so joseforcongress.us. You can find out more about our platform. You can find out about what we're fighting for. We have a lot of media on there, so if you want to see our YouTube performances and our debates, those things are all there on our website. I hope that there will be a link in the description below to that website. You can donate there. This is very, very critical. Every dollar that we are actually spending is going to voter outreach, so we need your help, and so thank you. And I really appreciate Lord McLeod to allow myself to be and speak to his audience, because the content that Lord McLeod shares is a struggle that too many Americans have to deal with on a daily basis. And until we elect people who actually have your best interest in mind, we're going to continue to have more and more videos of police brutality, police harassment, and more issues across the country. So let's put a stop to it. Let's end it. The election is on March 3rd. I hope that you vote. If you already registered to vote, hopefully you got your ballot in the mail. Vote for Jose Caballero for Congress for CA 53. Thank you.